Good morning. Happy Friday. It is March 20th. I did my makeup. I'm saying that because it was such an ordeal for me to, not like major, but I didn't want to do my makeup. And you know what made me do my makeup? I said, Naima, you are leading. You show up fully. Not kind of like dragging yourself to the camera. Get with it, woman. Get with it. So, I got some coffee brewing right now. I have a chocolate chip scone waiting for me right now. And I'm here with you right now. Good morning, Merle! All right, so let me get with it. So, I titled this video, What to Do When It's Gotten Worse, because I want to share with you a worse for me that really tested, I feel like it even prepared me to be, in a certain headspace today. Not greatly, because I'm already have my knowings about what's going on in the world today. But I think it will help you. And I also want to talk a bit more about the 30-day profit plan for pandemics, because that is something I'm excited about. As far as I'm concerned, I've already started. I'm just bringing you guys in for the ride. Because you need to stay lifted, even if it's just to keep your immune system in order so you don't fall into a sickness because of the kind of global panic that's going on right now. You got to remember, on Monday in France, folks have been ordered to stay in the house. Like, it's not like here in California, we've been ordered to be more mindful to stay home, but we're not forced to stay home. We don't have to show a letter to somebody. Well, I heard that in the San Francisco area, some people have been questioned like that. But here where I am, that's not happening. Let's say yet. It might happen. But in most places in California, in most places in the United States, we're not forced to stay home the way people in Italy are forced to stay home, the way people in France are forced to stay home. So this is a great opportunity for us to manage our mind to make sure we don't get sick just from the anxiety that can induce sickness in the body. So let me talk about first, before I go into the 30-day profit plan for pandemics, let me go into this hurricane. So I was born and raised in California, and I moved to Texas. I can't remember the year, but I moved to Texas and I experienced Hurricane Ike. Now, for those of you who are not in California or the United States, you have no idea what I'm talking about, likely. And many of you, even in the United States, perhaps it wasn't part of your world. Thank you for the hearts. I'm assuming that's Merle, because it's showing that I have one person watching, even though sometimes there'll be more people watching, but it's not showing because the way that they're watching. And so before I moved to Texas, the greatest crisis that I had experienced was I think it was called the Loma Prieta earthquake, which was in 1989. It was a huge earthquake. I want to say it was like 8 point something, and it lasted for a long time. So it was the size of it and how long it lasted that made it so cataclysmic to the San Francisco Bay Area. So what ended up happening is the Bay Bridge, which I think many people have seen. If you haven't seen it in person, you've probably seen it in a postcard. Hi, Gerda. Good morning. And so it's a double bridge. So to go into San Francisco, it's under the bridge. To leave San Francisco, to go across the ocean, to go to Oakland and East Bay, you're on top of the bridge. So at all times, there are cars crossing like this. And during this earthquake, the top part of the bridge collapsed onto the bottom part of the bridge. Can you believe that? It was wow. Like, the world was on fire for those of us who lived here or knew people who lived here. And so I remember specifically when the earthquake happened, I was on the floor at home doing my homework. I was I might have been in like the 6th grade. I can't remember the numbers and the years and all that, but I was under 15 years old, and I was on the floor doing my homework, and it just started shaking, and my mom started yelling, and she came and got me and my sister and was like, she grabbed us. I jumped up out of fear, like, oh my God, what's going on? And we had heard of earthquakes, but I don't think we had had a big one we definitely hadn't had a big one of that size, but I don't even think we had any one to even really we weren't afraid of earthquakes. And most people who live here are not afraid of them because most of them are really tiny. You barely feel it. And we kind of talk about it like, oh, did you feel that? Yeah, I felt that. And we get back to our day-to-day lives, okay? But this one, obviously, right, it was big and you could hear dishes and it's almost like things were falling in the house. And my mom grabbed us and took us to a doorway because the education that they teach Californians about when an earthquake comes, they tell you to get under a table and cover yourself. They tell you to get into a doorway and like stand in the doorway like this to protect yourself. Stop and drop, if you can find some other thing to cover like this, that's what they teach you in like school and different places where they educate you about earthquakes. That's what they tell us to do. And so that earthquake happened. And then very soon thereafter, there was what's called an aftershock. That's where there's like another earthquake that follows within like 10 minutes of the first earthquake. And that one was just as big, but it didn't last as long. So Northern California was like the bridge collapsed. Some people died. Life just suspended for a time. I don't remember how long, but it's suspended. And my mom started educating us about earthquakes and she was like scared. And I think we were out of school for a little bit of time. And then we ended up going to school and the school was educating and everybody was on high alert. And it was like people were recovering because a lot of people's houses had big damage and life was interrupted because the bridge collapsed. So people were forced to get on BART. So then BART was strained and then that created stress and delays. And right. So that was the greatest crisis. That was long. The real point I want to get here to is when I was a part of Ike. So I moved to Houston, Texas, and I had never been a part of hurricanes. Hurricanes are like Southern and Midwestern things. They don't happen in California. We only get earthquakes here. And sometimes slides, like houses that was like a lot of raining and like sometimes a house will, fall down if it's on a hill or mud, and a hill gets muddy because of the rain. But anyway, so we had hurricane. Now the thing about hurricanes is they warn you that, a hurricane is coming. So I saw like people boarding up businesses and boarding up homes and getting food and water and all that. So I was in an apartment building. And so there was no boarding up of anything, but I did go get some food and I got some water. What they didn't say, or at least I didn't hear, is that water could get shut off which means you can't flush your toilet or take a shower. And electricity could go out. I didn't even think about that. And so that ended up happening in my apartment building. There was no running water, so I could not go to the bathroom. Could you imagine? You can't flush the toilet. And we couldn't shower. And there was no electricity. So by nighttime, if you don't have candles, which I didn't have, you were in the dark, okay? So this is my first hurricane. I live by myself, like I'm calling home, and I know people, but they're in their homes doing their thing with their families, and I don't want to like intrude. One girlfriend, I went to her house for a short time, but I got tired of being there and ended up going back to my apartment. And so I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? The toilet doesn't flush. By nightfall, I'm going to be in this place dark by myself with zero light, zero light. And what am I going to do? Right? And so I got nervous. I was alone. There was no light. I couldn't flush the toilet. What am I going to do? So I remember I got in my car and I drove down the street and the street lights were off because the electricity was out. So there was no way to traffic. You had to slow down as other cars were driving. You had to just slow down and acknowledge each other that way because there was no traffic light. So I'm driving down the street and I see a street light that's blinking. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Okay, so if this is blinking, there must be some kind of electricity on this street. How is this happening? So I drive down that street and I come across a very obscure hotel that I had never seen before. And this is not even far from my apartment, but I had never seen this hotel before. So I go pull into the hotel and I see all these people. What had happened was everybody who was like me, who was without electricity and without running water, flocked to this hotel. And then also in that community were high rises. And the high rise buildings, the people's windows this is how bad the hurricane was. People's windows had been broken out of their houses. Because you can't put, everybody else was putting a wood and, protecting their windows. When you're in a high rise, you can't protect the windows. So all these people who were here, whose windows have been blown out. Hi, Danielle. Whose windows have been blown out. Okay, I hope it's back. Where I'm sitting here in the house, it gets like that. Sometimes the internet can go in and out from time to time. Anyway, so here we are. All these people flocked. So it was saturated. The lobby was packed. People were there for water. They were there to use the bathroom because toilets were flushing. We were able to flush toilets. And food. They were giving people food and internet. That's another thing I forgot that went out. Internet went out. So first of all, I want to illuminate something here, okay? You likely have running water in your house. You likely have electricity right now, and you likely have the internet right now, okay? That is something that I experienced, plus Lord knows how many other people this would experience this who ended up in this hotel. And let me tell you what it was like just for me being there. First of all, I saw generosity like I had never seen before. Daniel said, yes, so much to be thankful for. Yes. Generosity, because what you notice, and I'm noticing it, you're noticing it too online, you're paying attention, is that when everybody is forced into a similar situation. So right now, everybody is forced into paying attention to Corona, having their day-to-day lives being impacted by, homeschooling the kids now. Maybe you can't go to work. We're all feeling, even if you haven't been impacted by those two things I just explain, you're feeling the collective feelings of what's going on right now. Businesses are being forced to close, like mom and pop shops, like restaurants and barber shops and massage therapists who have brick and mortar shops are being forced to close down temporarily and maybe even permanently because many of them cannot withstand not having business, right? So what I saw is that here we are all at this hotel with nowhere to go, right? Because if we go home, there's no electricity, there's no running water, there's no internet. And this hotel is providing, and they're letting people come there without charging. Nobody questioned me about why are you here? We're already at capacity. You can't. No, I saw more people come in. I saw people come in with dogs. I saw people come in with kids. And there was this generosity. There was this, instead of you taking big old portions of food, you recognize that other families are coming here needing food too. So you would take a little less so this child can have some, so this man can have some, They had limited computers, so we were rotating. We were on a clock. Okay, so 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes with the internet. So we were getting organized about what we needed to do because we weren't going to just get on here and lollygag and scroll Facebook and fuck around. So you got organized about, okay, why are you on internet? You did your 5 minutes and you recognized there were people waiting. So there was respect and acknowledgement of other people and their needs and time. A deep consideration that might not have been there if there was nobody there and you had plenty of time to get on the internet. There was a kind of, people were talking to each other in ways that if you were just at the hotel because you just happened to be there, you probably wouldn't have talked to them in this way. There was a kind of relaxing and really listening to people and really caring about what people had to say. The same way we're doing right now with Corona. We are really reading articles with a focus. We are looking at these videos of people in Spain and Italy and France singing and creating music with a kind of togetherness in a way that we never had before. I was outside yesterday and I saw parents outside on bikes with their kids. I never see that around here. People outside, more people outside than I normally even see outside. There's a generosity, there's a smiling. I went to the market last night and people are like, take care of yourself, be safe, be well. There's a kind of caring for others' well-being right now. Allow yourself to sink into that as things get worse, because they are going to get worse. The governor here in California announced last night a kind of greater lockdown. Not like we're not forced into our homes the way they are in Europe, but he's like, we need you to stay home because, according to him, if we're not more mindful about staying home, like 80-something thousand Californians could have the coronavirus within 8 weeks. Those are the statistics that they're sharing with us here in California. And they're doing similar things all throughout the United States. And as it's getting worse in this kind of way, remember, I'm sitting here now with you and I was a part of that hurricane. I could not go back to my apartment. I actually got on a plane and came to my mom's house. And so, in the midst of all that, the goodness, you can choose to be good and still even feel like shit at times. Like there were times when I was at the hotel and I was just like, oh my God, is really, because they warned us about it, but I had never been a part of it. So I didn't have, we don't have this is unprecedented what's going on right now. So we can't be like, well, last time we had coronavirus, we did this. So maybe we don't have that reference point. So I invite you to be optimistic, to consider others. Some of the things I've been doing is I've been just straight up inboxing people like, how are you? My hairstylist, I text her, how are you? Do you need anything? Just reach out to people, check on people you wouldn't normally check on, comment on people's posts who you wouldn't normally comment on their posts on social media. Reach out, I saw a woman do a Cash App offering on Instagram. She was like, if there's a single mother with 2 kids who's having a hard time right now, post your Cash App in the comments and I'm going to Cash App you some money. There's so many things that you can do on the optimistic side. There's a woman in Paris, her handle on Instagram is called Paris is my kitchen or something like that. Paris is the kitchen or Paris is my kitchen. And she's just been posting all the restaurants that are open, all the cafes that are open, that are doing where you can do a quick pickup or who are doing delivery. And I said to her, I commented, thank you for being a resource. Like, how can you be a resource? How can you help? And that brings me to the 30-day profit plan for pandemics. This is my way of bringing something forth. 30-day profit plan for pandemics. So I talked about it a bit yesterday here in the tribe. You can go down and look for it. But essentially, the main reason why I want to do it is to help you stay lifted. Help you stay engaged. By me showing up here every day, 9:30, it gets me up. It gets me putting my makeup on. It gets me involved versus sitting and waiting and this staying in a, sedated is the word that comes to mind, but in a low state messes with your immune system. You could get sick. You could be home and, away and self-quarantine, but you could get sick just by your emotional state. So this 30-day profit plan for pandemics is a way to keep you lifted, to keep you optimistic, to keep you serving, to keep you speaking about what you care about, to keep you noticing what's going on in the world, in the marketplace, bringing that as something to talk to in a way that's acknowledging but soothing and helping people to remember, because people might listen to you who might not listen to me. They'll listen to somebody else who won't listen to you. So all of us putting our good into the pot helps with the collective, with lifting the collective. And remember, you can have somebody who's in Paris right now who will find your video. Somebody who's in Italy, who's in Kosovo, because I heard they're really panicking in Kosovo. Lithuania, a Facebook friend of mine messaged me who's in Lithuania. They're cracking down and having their concerns. You never know who in what country is watching your video who feels lifted. Right? So first you lift yourself by being a part of the 30-day, and then somebody else watches and then they get lifted. Okay. And then on a business side, you get to make your offers. And you can make a modified offer for the times, right? So this 30-day profit plan for pandemics, it's acknowledging the times that we're in right now. Okay. So I'm getting ready to go live with a woman in, I think she's in London right now. And we're going to get ready to do some lifting together over on her Facebook business page. Not her business page, her profile page. So this is what's available for us. This is how you handle as it gets worse. Let me see. Yeah, just even having a home. That's right. So many homeless people right now. Yeah, my mom mentioned that yesterday. She's like, man, and what about them, because they move around, Definitely important to keep each other lifted. Yes. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to go now. Yeah, I got to go live in 10 minutes. And I haven't had my coffee yet. I'll hurry up and get it so I can have it while I'm live. So that's it for now. I will be back Monday at 9:30 here in Master Tribe. And invite people in, right? Who should be here, who are masters, okay? Have a great weekend. Take good care of yourself. We made it. Americans that have made it through week 1. And look at us. We are fine. Take good care of yourself. You will feel better if you reach out to other people and see how they're doing. You never know what could come out of it, because this too shall pass. And who will you be on the other side? Have a great weekend. Bye.